7 years. 7 years of trusting my sister with everything. 7 years of watching her smile at family dinners, help plan my wedding, hold my daughter for the first time. That Tuesday afternoon, she picked me up from the dentist and handed me a bottle of water with that same warm smile. "Drink up, honey. You must be so thirsty after all that drilling." I took it. Of course I took it. She was my sister. The dental work had been brutal. 3 hours in the chair for a root canal that my regular dentist said was urgent. Emma had insisted on driving me, said she didn't want me taking an Uber while still numb and groggy. I remember thinking how lucky I was to have her. My older sister, always looking out for me. "How do you feel?" she asked as we pulled out of the parking lot. Like someone took a jackhammer to my jaw. I mumbled through the numbness. My whole left side felt swollen, heavy. She laughed. That familiar laugh I'd known my entire life. "Poor thing. Good thing I cleared my afternoon. We'll get you home, get you settled." I sipped the water. It tasted slightly off, but everything tasted weird with half my mouth still frozen. Emma chatted as she drove, something about Mom's upcoming birthday party, asking if I thought we should do a surprise or let her plan it herself. Normal sister conversation. Safe, comfortable. Except I was starting to feel strange. Not just the dental numbness. Something else. A heaviness creeping through my limbs, a fog rolling into my thoughts. I blinked hard, trying to clear my vision. "Emma?" My voice sounded far away, even to my own ears. "Hmm?" She glanced at me, and for just a second, I thought I saw something in her expression, something that wasn't quite right. But then she smiled again, and I told myself I was being paranoid. The painkillers. Probably. The dentist had given me something. "I feel really weird." "That's normal after a root canal, sweetie. The anesthesia, the pain meds. You'll feel better once you're home and can rest." Home, yes. I just needed to get home to my daughter. Lily was with the babysitter until 5. I needed to be functional by then. I closed my eyes, leaning my head against the cool window. When I opened them again, we weren't heading toward my neighborhood. I tried to focus on the street signs, but they blurred together. My thoughts moved like molasses. "Emma? This isn't. Where are we going?" "Shortcut," she said lightly. "Construction on Main Street. This'll be faster." But I knew these roads. We'd grown up in this town. There was no construction on Main Street. I'd driven through there yesterday. Fear prickled through the fog. I tried to sit up straighter, but my body wouldn't cooperate. "Emma, I don't feel right. Something's wrong." "You're fine. Just relax." Her voice had changed. Flatter. Colder. The sister warmth gone from it entirely. I fumbled for my phone in my purse, but my fingers were thick and clumsy. The purse slipped off my lap onto the floor. I couldn't even bend down to get it. "What did you give me?" The words came out slurred. Emma didn't answer. She just kept driving, her hands steady on the wheel, eyes on the road ahead. We turned onto a narrow street I didn't recognize. Trees on both sides, no houses. The afternoon sun filtered through the leaves in dappled patterns that made me dizzy. "Emma, please, what's happening?" She pulled over onto a dirt shoulder and put the car in park. Then she turned to look at me, really look at me, and her face was a stranger's face. Same features I'd known since childhood, but completely empty of anything I recognized as my sister. "Do you remember?" she said softly. "When you married Derek?" "Derek. My husband. What did he have to do with this?" "I was your maid of honor," she continued. "I helped you pick the dress. I threw you the bridal shower. I stood next to you at the altar and watched you marry the man I'd been in love with since high school." No, that couldn't be right. Derek had never even dated Emma. They'd barely known each other before he and I got together in college. "You were so happy," she said, her voice still that eerie calm, so oblivious. "You never noticed how he looked at me first at every family gathering. How he'd find excuses to talk to me alone. How he'd touch my hand just a second too long when passing the wine. That's crazy. But my tongue was too thick, my brain too slow to form better arguments. Is it? Ask yourself why Derek never wanted us to be close after you got married, why he always had excuses when I invited you both over, why he suggested you spend less time with me. I tried to remember, but everything was getting fuzzy. Had Derek said those things? I couldn't tell what was real anymore. He was trying to protect you, Emma said, from what he knew would eventually happen. Because he and we've been seeing each other for 6 years. The whole time you were pregnant with Lily, he was telling me he wished she was mine, that he'd made a mistake marrying you. The words hit me like physical blows, but I couldn't move, couldn't fight back, couldn't even cry. My body was shutting down, piece by piece. Today was supposed to be simple, she said, almost conversationally. The dentist was real. I made the appointment months ago, made sure it was the one I knew would prescribe heavy pain medication, but I ground up a few extra pills into that water, just to speed things along. Speed what along? Emma reached into the back seat and pulled out an overnight bag. My overnight bag, the one I kept in my hall closet. You're going to disappear for a few days, she explained. Long enough for people to worry. Derek will be devastated, naturally. He'll lean on me for support, the way he always does. We'll search for you together. Be there for each other. And Lily, sweet Lily, she'll need her auntie. Her poor daddy will be so overwhelmed, a single father trying to cope. My heart hammered weakly in my chest. I tried to speak, but only a moan came out. They'll find you eventually, Emma continued. Tragic accident. Disoriented from the pain medication, you must have gotten confused, wandered into the woods, got lost. It'll be sad. We'll all grieve. But Derek and I will find comfort in each other, the way we always have. And in time, people will understand. They'll even think it's sweet, how he found happiness again with someone who already loves Lily like her own. She opened her car door. Don't worry, she said, looking back at me one last time. I'll take good care of your daughter. I'll be the mother she deserves. The wife Derek should have chosen in the first place. Then she was gone, and I was alone. I don't know how long I sat there, paralyzed, watching the sun sink lower through the trees. My mind screamed at my body to move, to do something, anything, but I might as well have been trying to command a stone to walk. The drugs Emma had given me held me in place as surely as chains. But they hadn't taken my thoughts. Not completely. And as I sat there, trapped in my own useless body, something Emma had said kept echoing in my mind. The dentist appointment. She'd made it months ago. Months ago. Before my regular dentist had called to say he was booked solid and recommended someone new. Before that, someone new had fit me in on such short notice. Before the root canal, that my regular dentist had later said, when I'd mentioned it in passing at a family dinner, sounded unnecessary based on my last x-rays. Emma had planned this. All of it. The dentist was in on it, or maybe just negligent enough to do the procedure Emma had paid him for without asking questions. But she'd orchestrated every piece, which meant this wasn't some sudden crime of passion. This was calculated, premeditated. This was my sister deciding, months ago, that I was simply in the way of the life she wanted. Rage burned through the fog, not enough to move my limbs, but enough to sharpen my thoughts. If she'd planned this so carefully, she'd have thought of everything. She'd have my phone. She'd already taken my purse when I dropped it. She'd probably disabled my location services weeks ago during one of her helpful tech support moments. But she'd made one mistake. She'd told me her plan. Villains in movies always did that, right? They explained everything to their helpless victim, confident there'd be no consequences. Emma had done the same, because she was so certain I'd die out here, or be found too late to matter, my word against hers if I tried to tell anyone. She didn't know about the Apple Watch. Derek had given it to me for my birthday, insisted I wear it all the time for the fitness tracking. You're always saying you want to be healthier, he'd said. This'll help. At the time, I'd thought it was sweet. Now, I wondered if it was guilt. If somewhere in his cheating heart, he knew what Emma might eventually do, and this was his insurance policy. The watch was still on my wrist. I could feel its faint weight, even through the numbness. If I could just activate the SOS function. My fingers twitched. Barely. Not enough. I focused every ounce of will I had left into my right hand, tried to remember the gesture. Press and hold the side button. That's all it would take. My arm felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I managed to lift it an inch off my lap before it fell back down. Outside, the sun continued its descent. In another hour, maybe less, it would be dark. Emma would be back at her apartment by now, establishing her alibi. Probably calling Derek to ask if he'd heard from me, starting the worried sister act. I tried again. Focused on just my fingers this time, not the whole arm. Tried to curl them, to make any kind of controlled movement. Nothing. Think. There had to be another way. My head. I could move my head. Just a little. The fog was maybe starting to lift at the edges. Or maybe that was wishful thinking. But I'd been sitting here for at least 30 minutes now, and the worst of the drug should peak and then start to fade, shouldn't it? Unless she'd given me enough to kill me. Unless I was dying right now, and I just couldn't feel it. No. I couldn't think like that. I had a daughter. Lily needed me, and I'd be damned if I'd let my sister raise my child and sleep in my bed and live my life. I turned my head toward the passenger window. The motion made the world spin. But I fought through it. There. The window control button. If I could just... I let my head drop against the door, tried to position my face near the button. My cheek hit the armrest, and I used the momentum to roll my head until my temple pressed against the button panel. The window slid down. Cool air rushed in, shocking against my skin. I dragged in deep breaths, trying to clear my head. The fresh air helped. Not much, but some. Enough that I could think a little more clearly. My phone. Even if Emma had taken my purse, she might not have thought to grab my phone from where it had fallen on the floor. She'd been so focused on her speech, her grand reveal. Maybe she'd forgotten. I looked down. The footwell was dark, but there, near the brake pedal, I saw the faint glow of a screen. My phone. Still there. Still on. But it might as well have been on the moon for all the good it did me. I couldn't reach it. Couldn't even lift my arm anymore. The brief surge of adrenaline that had let me open the window had faded, and I was sinking again, deeper into the chemical fog. I was going to die here. The thought came with strange clarity. I was going to die in my sister's car on a dirt road in the woods, and she was going to get away with it. She'd raise Lily. She'd marry Derek. She'd have everything she wanted. Unless... The watch had a feature. I'd never used it, but Derek had shown me once. Fall detection. If the watch detected a hard fall, it would automatically call emergency services if you didn't respond within a certain time frame. But I hadn't fallen. I was sitting upright in a car. What if I wasn't? The door was unlocked. Emma had gotten out through it just fine, and I'd managed to open the window. If I could just... I took a breath and threw my weight sideways. My body barely moved. But it moved. A few inches toward the door. Again. Harder this time. I shoved with what little strength I had left, felt myself sliding across the leather seat. Again. My shoulder hit the door. I was half lying across the seat now, my head near the window opening. The world tilted sickeningly. One more. Just one more. I pushed with my legs, or tried to. It was more of a spasm than anything coordinated, but it was enough. I tumbled out of the car. The fall seemed to happen in slow motion. The ground rushed up, or I rushed down, and then impact. My head hit first, then my shoulder, and even through the numbness I felt the jarring shock of it. Leaves and dirt pressed against my face, and on my wrist I felt the watch vibrate. The screen lit up, bright in the gathering dusk. "It looks like you've taken a hard fall," the automated voice said from the tiny speaker. "I'm going to call emergency services in 60 seconds unless you tap, 'I'm okay.'" I couldn't tap anything. I could barely even see the screen. But that didn't matter. I let the seconds tick by. 50, 40, 30. "Calling emergency services," the watch announced. Somewhere far away, a 911 operator was receiving an automated alert. A location ping. A message that someone wearing this watch had fallen and wasn't responding. They'd come. They had to come. I just had to stay alive until they got here. I tried to keep my eyes open, tried to stay conscious, but the drugs were still working through my system. Darkness crept in at the edges of my vision. I fought it, but it was like fighting a tide. The last thing I remember thinking was that if I died, at least I'd tried. At least there would be a record. The 911 call. The location. The police would find me here, in Emma's car, and maybe that would be enough. Maybe they'd ask questions. Maybe Lily would be safe. Then nothing. I woke up to lights. Bright, painful, piercing through my eyelids. Voices, urgent and professional. Hands on me, checking pulse, lifting me onto something hard. A gurney, unresponsive female, approximately 30 years old, found near vehicle, possible overdose. Signs of recent dental work, swelling indicates procedure within last few hours. Apple Watch automated SOS call, patient unable to respond. I tried to speak, to tell them about Emma, but my mouth wouldn't work. The best I could manage was a moan. "She's coming around," someone said. "Ma'am? Can you hear me? You're safe. You're in an ambulance. We're taking you to County General." Safe. Was I? Or was this just another part of Emma's plan? Had she somehow accounted for this too? But no, she couldn't have. She'd left me here to die, confident in her scheme. She hadn't expected me to fall from the car, hadn't known about the watch's auto alert feature. For the first time in hours, I felt something other than fear. I felt hope. The hospital was chaos. Doctors, nurses, needles, IVs, someone pumping my stomach even though I tried to tell them I hadn't swallowed pills, they'd been ground into the water. But they couldn't understand me yet, and they were just trying to save my life, so I let them work. Derek showed up within the hour. I saw him through the window of my room, talking urgently to a doctor. His face was pale, drawn. When they finally let him in, he rushed to my bedside. "Oh God, oh God," he kept saying. "What happened?" "Emma called me. Said you weren't answering your phone after the dentist." She was getting worried. "I was about to start calling hospitals when they contacted me." Emma. Of course she had called him, playing the concerned sister. I grabbed his hand with what little strength I'd regained. "Derek." My voice came out as a croak. "Derek. Listen. Don't try to talk," the doctor said. "Emma did this." "Emma." He stared at me. "What? No. Emma's the one who drugged me." I forced each word out clearly, despite how much effort it took. "Said you two, together, 6 years, wanted me gone, raised Lily herself." I watched his face change. Confusion gave way to shock, then something that looked like horror, and beneath that, something else. Something that confirmed what Emma had told me. Guilt. "You knew," I whispered. "Didn't you? You knew she wanted you." Derek's hand trembled in mine. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Not like this," he finally said. "I swear to God, not like this." Yes, she. There were feelings, I knew that. She made a pass at me once, a few years ago. I shut it down. I told her it would never happen. I chose you. "I've always chosen you," she said. I don't care what she said. I never touched her, never encouraged her. I started pulling away from her because I could see she wasn't letting it go, and I thought if I just created distance, she'd move on. I never thought. He looked at me with something like terror in his eyes. I never thought she'd do something like this. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. But Emma's words kept echoing, how he'd looked at her first at family gatherings, how he'd touched her hand. Later, I managed. "We'll talk. Later. Right now, police." Derek nodded, his jaw tight. "I already asked them to come. They're waiting until the doctor clears it." The detective who came was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She introduced herself as Detective Morrison and pulled up a chair next to my bed. "Mrs. Patterson," she said gently, "I understand you've been through a trauma. Take your time, but I need you to tell me everything you remember." So I did. Every detail, from Emma picking me up at the dentist, to her confession in the car, to my desperate fall to trigger the watch alert. I saw the detective's expression harden as I spoke. "You're saying your sister admitted to orchestrating a fake dental procedure and drugging you with intent to kill?" "Yes." "And that she claimed to be having an affair with your husband?" I glanced at Derek, who stood against the wall, his arms crossed, his face unreadable. "That's what she said." "He denies it." "I've never cheated on my wife," Derek said firmly. "Emma made advances that I rejected. I can provide texts, emails, anything you need to prove that." Detective Morrison made notes. "We'll need all of that. We'll also need to talk to the dentist who performed the root canal." "What was the name of the practice?" I told her. She wrote it down, then looked up at me again. "Here's what's going to happen," she said. "We're going to test your blood for substances beyond what the dentist should have prescribed. We're going to examine your sister's car, which is still at the location where you were found. We're going to pull phone records, financial records, everything. And then we're going to have a conversation with Emma. She'll deny it, I said. She'll say I'm confused from the drugs, that I imagined it. Maybe. But evidence doesn't lie. And if she planned this as carefully as you say, she's made mistakes. They always do. After the detective left, Derek and I sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I should have told you. When she made the pass, I should have told you immediately. I thought if I handled it myself, it wouldn't hurt you. I thought I was protecting you. You thought wrong. I know. I closed my eyes. Is it true? Any of what she said? About how you looked at her, touched her hand? No. But I can't prove that. You'll either believe me or you won't. I thought about our 7 years together. The life we'd built. Our daughter. I thought about the man I knew. Or thought I knew. I don't know if I believe you, I said honestly. But I know I believe that you didn't try to kill me. That's something. It's more than I deserve right now, he said. Over the next few days, as I recovered in the hospital, the case against Emma built. The blood tests showed not just the prescribed pain medication, but twice the dose that should have been possible from what the dentist gave me. The car had my fingerprints on the inside of the passenger door, the window control, and traces of pills ground into powder in the cup holder where Emma had prepared the water bottle. Her phone records showed she'd been researching sedatives and their lethal doses for months. And then there was the dentist, Dr. Richard Hammond, who'd performed my root canal. When the police questioned him, he cracked within an hour. Emma had been his patient for years, he admitted. She'd told him I needed the procedure but was too anxious to make the appointment myself. She'd paid him $5,000 in cash to do it without verifying it was necessary. He hadn't asked questions. He'd just done the work and taken the money. They arrested Emma on a Thursday. I wasn't there, but Derek was. He told me about it later, how she'd answered the door with that same warm smile, how it had only slipped when she saw the handcuffs. She asked for me, Derek said, his voice hollow, when they were putting her in the police car. She kept saying, Derek will explain. Derek knows this is a misunderstanding. Call Derek. What did you say? Nothing. I couldn't even look at her. The trial was 6 months later. I testified for 3 hours, recounting every detail of that afternoon. Emma's lawyer tried to paint me as unreliable, confused by medication, harboring jealousy toward my beautiful older sister, but the evidence was overwhelming. The jury took 4 hours to convict her of attempted murder. At sentencing, the judge asked if Emma had anything to say. She stood, her hands shaking, and looked directly at me. I loved him, she said simply. I loved him first, before you even knew he existed. And you took him from me. You took everything. That doesn't give you the right to kill someone, the judge said sharply. I know, Emma said. But you asked what I had to say. That's what I had to say. I loved him, and I lost him, and I couldn't. I just couldn't watch anymore. 20 years, with the possibility of parole after 15. As they led her away, she looked back one more time. Not at me, at Derek. And the expression on her face was so raw, so full of genuine anguish, that for just a moment I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Derek and I went to therapy. Couples, counseling, individual sessions, the whole thing. It took a long time for me to trust him again, to believe that he hadn't known how far Emma would go, that he'd never encouraged her delusions. Some days I still don't know if I believe it completely, but we're trying. For Lily, and for ourselves. I don't drink anything. I haven't poured myself anymore. I check my own medications, count my pills. I keep my phone on me always, and the Apple Watch that saved my life never leaves my wrist. And sometimes, late at night, I think about what Emma said. That she loved him first. That I took him from her. I wonder if, in her mind, she really believed that. If she'd convinced herself so thoroughly that Derek was meant to be hers that my existence became an obstacle rather than a relationship. An obstacle that simply needed to be removed. 7 years of trust, of sisterhood, of shared history, all of it a lie. Or maybe not a lie exactly, but something twisted, something corrupted by a want so strong it became a need, and a need so desperate it became a plan. My sister tried to kill me for a man she couldn't have. And the worst part? The part that still keeps me up at night? For just a second, when she was explaining her plan in that car, when she thought she'd won, she looked happy. Truly, genuinely happy. As if murdering me was simply the price of admission to the life she deserved. That's what I can't forgive. Not the attempt on my life, not the drugs, not even the months of planning. It's that moment of happiness. That glimpse of who my sister really was underneath everything. A stranger who looked like family,